The next item on our agenda is communication, and nobody has signed up to speak this evening, so we'll move on to superintendent's recommendations and reports. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Birding. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Martin to cover the items listed under Personnel Professional.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Birding and members of the board, I have several items for your consideration this evening under Personnel Professional. Item number 1, resignations, letters A and B. And I do want to mention these two people who are retiring at the end of this school year. Tom Knieven, who teaches band and has taught band in our district for many years. He is a stellar educator. He's excellent. He is so respected by the parents, fellow teachers, and the students, and he's worked as an educator for 33 years, and he's going to be greatly missed. And the second person that's there, I also would like to mention Jenny Thompson. She serves as our coordinator of elementary curriculum and instruction. I've known her for well over 20 years. She's served in our district. Right now, she is the number 1 on our seniority list. She's worked in Fairfield longer than any other person. She's worked here for 36 years. She is, I know everybody says you can replace anybody, but I kind of have my doubts about replacing Jenny Thompson. She does so much. She does not know what a 40-hour work week is. Ever since I've known her, she works so many hours in the schools doing so much. She's in charge of so many big programs, our resident educator program. She influences all the new teachers that come to our district. She's involved, or she runs, our comprehensive continuous improvement plan, which is a very complex state computer website where she keeps in touch with all the auxiliary schools and all of the nonprofit schools. She works with so many of our federal funds. And in addition to that, she does all things elementary. I just can't say enough about her as an educator, and she's going to be tremendously missed here in Fairfield. So that was item 1, resignations, letters A and B. Item 2, employment. Letter A, extracurriculars for the current school year, and letter B, substitute teacher for the current school year. And item 3, letter A, is a correction. It's just a change of a retirement date for one of our teachers who has already announced their retirement. That concludes the items I have for your consideration this evening under Personnel Professional.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. This time, I'll entertain a motion to accept those recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I heard Mrs. Shorter and Mr. Clark. Any comments or questions from the board? I'll just add one comment. You're right, Mrs. Thompson is incredible for our district. And of course, she came from North Elementary. I'll just point that out. So,
She was at West first, I have to
oh,
tell
was
you.
she? Okay, well,
With me.
yeah, I remember, she was the assistant principal when my students were at North Elementary,
Yes.
so. Okay, Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Shorter?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Bagley?
Yes.
Mrs. Gundrum?
Yes.
Mr. Birding?
Yes, motion passes.
This time, I would like to ask Mr. Penny to cover the items listed under Personnel Support.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Birding, members of the board, I have the following items for your consideration this evening under personnel support. Under item number 1, resignations, letters A through F. Under item number 2, unpaid leave of absence, letters A through E. Under item number 3, employment, letters A through H. Under item number 4, promotion, letter A. This concludes the items I have for your consideration this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. This time, I'll entertain a motion to accept those recommendations.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I heard Mr. Clark and then Mr. Bagley in that order. Any questions or comments from the board? I do hope that Mr. Stegman is okay. He is a member of the diversity leadership, or diversity team, if I remember correctly. So I hope he's doing okay. All right, Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll?
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Bagley?
Yes.
Mrs. Gundram?
Yes.
Mrs. Shorter?
Yes.
Mr. Birding?
Yes, motion passes.